Keon is not here to get the shout out that he wishes. No, see, you're going to break your pencil. No, it won't be. It's not as fun anymore. It's fun because Keon was the first one to ask. That's why he always gets it. It's not like he's my favorite or anything. It's just he was the first one to ask, which makes it funny. Now the rest of you are just copycats and it seems silly. Why would I say the name of the magic owl? Because that's my thing. Houdini. It is my son's thing as well. Also the name of the magic cow. Houdini. Mul&Div. All right, here we go. Do all of you agree that that is true?
It is highlighted.
Read that to me in English. What does that say? -2 is less than 2. Is that true?
Yes.
Prove it.
A negative and
How do you prove it?
Negative is smaller than a positive.
I got a graph right here. How do you prove it?
So -2 is on the left of 0.
-2 is here.
Is on the right of 0.
+2 is here. What makes that the case? Why are you now? How have you now proven it?
2 is bigger than a negative.
Why? Because 2 is to the right of -2. Everyone agree? Okay, so now we are going to multiply by a positive number. Everybody agree? So we are going to take this inequality, -2, and we are going to multiply it by the same positive number. So we're going to multiply both sides by +2. Everyone okay with that? Why did you do 2, Mr. Myers? Just 'cause. Okay, it will work with any positive number. What is 2 times -2? -4. What is 2 times +2? 4. What sign would go in the middle? Less than, because -4 is less than 4. Agreed? Now let's put that on this graph. I now have -4 and +4, and you can see they are in the same relative positions. Does everybody understand?
Whoa.
Everybody cool? If I multiply them both by the same positive number, which is 2 and 2, the inequality didn't change, did it? I still have the same sign in the middle. Everyone okay? Everyone good? Yeah? Okay. Now we're going to divide each side instead of multiply. So I started with -2 is less than 2, yes?
Oui.
And now I'm going to divide them both by +2. What is -2 divided by +2?
What? No.
-1.
Yeah.
What is 2 divided by 2?
1.
+1. What sign goes in the middle?
The
Less than.
Yeah.
So you will notice that if I divide by a positive, the sign doesn't change. Does everyone see that? So if I put it on the graph, I am now at -1 and +1. And you can see that the sign doesn't change. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So what does that mean? We did it once. If we do something once in math and it works, what do we know? That it will always work. So what is the rule that we just figured out? If we multiply or divide by a positive number, what happens? What happens to the inequality? Did it change? The inequality sign stays the same. Does everybody understand that? Now, yesterday, when we added or subtracted, it stayed the same too, didn't it? So now, if we add, if we subtract, if we multiply, or we divide by positive numbers, it's always going to stay the same, right? That's now 3 things we know. Everybody cool? I'm going to leave the rule up there. There. Now, let's do this using negative numbers. So where did I start? -2 and +2. That's where we started, yes?
Yes.
And I'm using black to show where we started.
Multiply.
Everyone agree?
-2.
So I had -2 and 2. Yeah? Now I'm going to multiply them by
-2.
-2. What is -2 times -2?
+4.
+4. What is 2 times -2? -4. What just happened?
We swap them.
So what happens to the sign?
Swap.
It switches. So we highlight negative, negative, switch. Now when we come to here, this 2, when we multiplied by -2, became +4. This 2 became -4. And you can see right on the number line that they switched places. Does everybody see that? Yes?
Very much.
Okay. You guys are smart kids. Are multiply and divide very closely related?
Yes.
Yes. So when we multiplied by a negative, it switched places. What do you think's going to happen when we divide?
Same thing.
Same thing. I started with -2, 2. Now I'm going to divide by -2.
What would be 1?
So I get, what's -2 divided by -2?
1.
+1. 2 divided by -2? -1. And what happened to the sign? It switched. So negative, 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 switch. What happened over here? I was at 2 and -2. Then I divided by -2. And I divided by -2. And you can see they switched places. Kyle, if you need to go to the washroom and you can't possibly hold it, then go ahead. But don't complain to me when you don't know what is going on. Because I'm not stopping for 18 other kids for you to pee. You make your own decision. What did we just learn? What did we just do?
No matter what, it stays the same.
No. This was our last rule.
Oh.
If we multiply or divide by a positive number, the inequality stays the same. What did we just learn?
If we multiply or divide by a negative number,
Or divide by a negative number, what happens? The inequality sign does what?
That's what I was trying to find. The inequality
The
sign.
inequality sign switches.
Yeah.
So remember, I told you there was only one weird thing in this whole unit, yes? The only difference between x plus 3 or 2x plus 3 equals 9 and negative 2x plus 3 is less than or equal to 9 is when we do that division, which we are going to have to do, that sign's going to flip. Understand? Only when we multiply or divide. Okay, we're going to do a ton of examples to remind you of that rule. Everybody okay? I'll leave that rule up for a second so you can get it written down. You don't need to write down this. You don't need to write that down because you're about to get a bunch of examples of that right now. Is everybody good? Okay, let's move along. So, these are only one-steppers. All that means is we only have to do one math. Okay? What's our job anytime we see an X, or a Y, or a Q, or a P? We're not trying to get rid of it. We're trying to get it by itself.
Yeah.
To do that, we got to get rid of everything around it, right? Yeah. Well, what is around this X?
2/3. Or 2/3.
A 4. A times 4. So what do I do to get rid of times 4? I divide by 4. If I do something to the left, what do I do to the right?
I was looking at the wrong line.
Divide by 4. Now, did I divide by a positive or a negative? Positive. So does the sign change, Cole? No. X, sign doesn't change because this is positive. What's negative 12 divided by 4? Negative 3, and then we graph it. Only number that matters, negative 3, open circle, follow the arrow because letters first. Everybody good? All right, now, your turn. What do I got to do to get C by itself?
You plus 2C.
Pardon me? Divide by negative 2.
Oh, yeah.
They cancel. C. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. What happens to the sign?
Changes.
Why?
Because we're working with negative.
Because we divided by a negative. So the sign has to change. Graph it. Negative 4. Close dot. Follow the arrow. Any questions? Good. Look at the next one. What's in the way of B being alone? A divided by positive 2. So what do I have to do to get rid of it? By positive 2. What do I got to do to the 3? Multiply by positive 2. What happens to these 2's? Cancel out. B, 2 times 3 is 6. I multiply by a positive. Does the sign change? No, because I used a positive. Graph it. 6. Close dot. Why? Because it equals, and I follow the arrow because letter was first. Everybody good? And the last one. What do I got to get rid of? Divided by negative 3. How do I get rid of divide by negative 3? Multiply by negative 3. Negative 3. Negative 3. 3's cancel. V. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Did I multiply by a negative?
Yeah.
So do I change the sign? Yes. Only number that matters, negative 12. Open dot, because it's not equal. Follow the arrow, because letters first. Any questions? That covers everything you just learned and proved with a number line, yes? I'm going to ask again. Any questions? Not yet? Okay. That means you're ready to do these. Okay, question 1. Yes or no? Would you reverse? So do the arrows need to change? Yes or no? Don't do the work yet. Just tell me if the arrow needs to change. What makes an arrow need to change? Multiplying or dividing by negatives. Am I multiplying or dividing by a negative here?
Yes.
Yes. So am I flipping the sign?
Yeah.
Yes. We flip the sign. What about this one? No. Because that would be divide by a positive. What about this one? Yes. Because we would multiply. Right? Now, solve them. Solve and graph. You guys do those. Go. I expect to see 17 pencils moving. You just saw 4 examples of it, which I'm going to put back on the screen so you can't complain. 4 examples of how to do them, and 3 attempts to do them. Find the one up here, A, B, C, D, that looks like the one you're working on down here, and put that knowledge together. I feel it should take about 30 seconds per question. And since everybody said, oh yeah, we don't have any questions, Mr. Myers, everybody should be able to do those by themselves. Would anybody like to volunteer what they did with 2a? Kian? You divided by -2. So m and 8 divided by -2 is -4. What did you do with the sign? You switched it, because right up here we knew we were going to have to do that. Then we graphed it. We circled, we labeled it -4, and we followed the arrow because the letter was first. It's an open dot because it doesn't equal. What do I need to do here? Exact same question. Ethan. By what? A +2. So I get m and 4. Was this negative? So does the sign change? Nope. So I do the exact same thing.
Close circle.
Close circle. 4. Follow the arrow because letters first. And finally over here, the hardest one. Would anyone like to volunteer?
Multiply by -2.
Multiply by -2. Soon as I multiply by a negative, what do I do with the sign?
Switch it.
Switch it. -6. Follow the arrow because letters first. Do I color this dot in? Why? Because it's not equal. Can everybody do one step? Okay. Now, if there is more than one step, do you think the rules change? No, of course not. When there was more than one step in a regular equation, did the rules change? No. We are still trying to get the letter by itself. So here we have a more than one step equation, yes? If I gave you this, don't write this down. If I did 1 minus 2 over 3x equals 3, you would all know how to solve it, wouldn't you? Your job is to get x by itself, right?
By 3.
Just stop for a second there. You would all know what to do, right? Get x by itself by doing the opposite of what we see, correct? So, all we're doing now is we're doing the exact same thing. We're trying to get x by itself. We only got to worry about this arrow if we ever multiply or divide by a negative. Okay? That's the only time we got to worry. So, are we going to start with the 1 or the 2/3?
2/3.
If I gave you this, Dale, 7 plus 3x
by
equals
1.
9, you would start with the 7, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So, what are we going to start with here?
The 1.
The 1. What kind of 1 do my eyes see?
Positive.
Addition of 1. So what kind of math does my pencil do?
Subtraction.
Subtraction of 1. Where else?
Other side.
With the 3. Because anything you do on one side, you got to do the other side. Did I do any dividing by a negative?
No, not yet.
No. Did I do any multiplying by a negative?
No.
No. So does this change yet?
No.
No. So now I've got negative 2/3 x is greater than 3 minus 1 is 2. Now what do you want to get rid of?
2/3.
You want to get rid of the 2/3, which is 2 divided by 3, isn't it?
So you multiply by
Multiply by 3. Did I multiply by a negative number? No. So does the sign change? No. What happens to both these 3's? Gone. So now I've got negative 2x, because I didn't do anything with the 2, is greater than what's 3 times 2? 6. Now what math do I see?
Negative 2x.
Negative 2. You're doing the step, Ethan. You've just skipped what I've asked. I see multiply, so I do?
Division.
By what?
By positive 2.
Negative 2.
Ah.
Did I divide by a negative?
Yeah.
So what do I got to do to the sign? Flip it. X is less than negative 3. Here is where we make our change. Everybody got it? And then we graph. What's the only number that matters?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. Is it included?
Yeah. No.
No. So it's an open dot. Do I follow the arrow?
No.
Why?
Yeah.
Because letters first. Is there a way to check? Yes. You check with 0. Did our arrow go over 0? No. So that means 0 won't work, correct? What is 2/3 times 0? 0, right? What's 1 minus 0? 1. So this side would be 1. Is 1 greater than 3? No. So 0 is not allowed to be an answer. Is 0 an answer? No, because our arrow doesn't go over it. So did we graph it correctly? Yes, we did. Is everybody good? Nothing has changed except you got to remember that sometimes you got to flip the sign. What are those times?
By negative.
When I multiply or divide by a negative. What if I multiply or divide by a negative in the middle of the question? Should I flip the sign?
Yes.
Yes. What if I got to multiply or divide by a negative twice in a question? Do I have to flip the sign twice?
No.
Yes. Every time you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the sign. Okay? That's why you write it out. So you can't do it wrong. Here is the last thing we're going to do. It's the last example. So let's write it out. Negative 2f over 5 is less than 4. What's in the way of f being alone?
2 over 5.
I got a 2 and a 5, right?
Negative 2 over 5.
So what do I got to get rid of first?
5.
You want to get rid of the 5 first? That's okay. How do I get rid of a 5 that's on the bottom of a fraction? What math is happening?
Division. Right
Division,
now,
so I do multiply. I want to get rid of a positive 5, so I multiply by positive 5. What happens to those 5s? They're gone. What's left?
2.
Negative 2f. What's 4 times 5? 20. Did I do anything, any multiply or divide with the negative yet? No. So does the sign change? No. Now what? Divide by what? Negative 2. Oh, I divided by a negative. They cancel. F. 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. Does this change?
Yes.
Why?
You divided by
Because I divided by a negative. Everybody got it? So now let's graph it. What's the only number that matters?
negative.
Negative 10. I can put it anywhere I want. Open dot. Why?
Because there's no other numbers on the number line.
Because it's not included. And can I follow the arrow?
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody good? Nothing changes but that one little thing, right? And when does that one little thing happen?
Dividing or multiplying by a negative.
Every time I divide or multiply by a negative. Does everybody understand?
So if it happens 4 times, you flip
If it happens 4 times in the question, every time it happens, each step, you flip that sign. Do you flip it for adding?
No.
No. Do you flip it for subtraction?
No.
No. Do you flip it for adding a negative number?
No.
No, because it's still adding. Do you flip it for subtracting
No.
a negative number? No. Do you flip it for multiplying by a negative number?
No.
Yes. Okay. So I believe your work exists on, I think it's page 251. I'm the worst kind of liar. It's on 253. It starts at practice. 253 and 254.
Diamante is a banana.
Yeah, but I never stuck on there.
Right?
Are you a banana?
Yeah, you can see where you were.
I was stabbing there. What's he in there? First of all, it was never came from my banana. Bananas from